here's what I think happens a lot in our space. Hi, Julia. That gets really confusing for people is that we hear someone else talking about what has made them successful, and we think, well, that's the thing, right? Thank you, Katie. Katie said, can't say enough good things about the intensive. Awesome. Hi, Michelle. Michelle is the reason I changed this time, you guys, because she reminded me that I could just change it. So there you go. Hi, Sarupa. Awesome. Okay, so that we hear them saying like, well, this one thing got me success. And so we feel like it's just that one thing. And it can be really, really, really confusing because we hear what they're saying, but also if we watch what they're doing reliably, there is a combination of mindset, strategy, and execution going on. And so I really want to talk about that today. I want to talk about why now is more important than ever to do that. And then I also want to talk about the ways to start incorporating this into your business and using it more fully. I'm so excited for whatever the date is in October. I am so excited too. I really, really am. Thank you again for giving me permission to change it. So like, let me just give an example. So like if someone is talking about mindset, they're like, mindset is the most important thing. It is everything. It is the whole thing. That can feel so true for them. Like, I'm not saying this person is lying to you. I am not invalidating anything. Like, that may have been the biggest lever for them to pull, and they are so fucking passionate about it. And that's what they're talking about. However, if you watch their business, I guarantee you there is strategy and execution behind it, right? The only reason you're even hearing that message from them is because there is strategy and execution behind it. So it doesn't mean you shouldn't hire that person to just work on mindset, right? However, it means you have to be discerning to remember that that's not the only thing, right? It's just like if I hired a nutritionist, I would still have to be discerning that, like, yes, I need to work on my nutrition and I need to like look at what I'm eating, but I probably also need to move my body every day. Hiring a nutritionist does not like absolve me from having to do that too. So working on your mindset, getting support around that, working on your strategy, getting support around that does not mean not to do the other things, or does not mean that person is not also doing the other things, right? Does that make sense? And that's what gets so confusing in this industry, is that we have to not just pay attention to what people are saying, we have to pay attention to what people are doing, right? So that, like, again, is not to say anyone's lying to you. It's just to say, like, there is always more to the story, but someone is allowed to sell a really specific piece of that puzzle. And that doesn't make it wrong or bad. But when you take that piece to mean it's the whole puzzle, that is when we will often feel really, really, really frustrated in business, is because we are like, well, this was supposed to be the whole thing and it's not the whole thing. And I'm really frustrated. Like, why is it not working for me? I must be broken. And it is not, right? It is not. It is like always going to be a part of a bigger whole, right? Hi guys. Hi Preeti. Hi Kristen. Michelle says, I love that you're encouraging folks to find that balance. Wish I had heard this early on when I was so focused on strategy. Exactly. Right? Because that's what happens. Like in our industry, somebody will sell strategy. Like, it's this strategy got me this result. They have every right to just focus on selling that strategy. And it is so true that that strategy helped them get that result. But I guarantee you they had a great mindset behind it, right? Whether they even knew that or not, actually. On that note, if y'all haven't listened to literally season 2, give it a listen with my client, Sam, who is amazing and still a lovely friend and client of mine. But Sam is such a strategy person. She sells strategy. Her agency is strategy focused. Like, what she loves the most is strategy. Like, everything is so good there. And she has had so much success off that. But Sam has the most naturally rock solid mindset of almost anyone I've ever met. If, like, when some people were starting to listen to season 2, they're like, Sam is turning the fuck out of me at first, because her mindset is so on point. And she does not work on it that hard, to be honest. Like, I mean, as her coach, like, I'm sure if you listen to season 2, you know, I kept being like, let's do a little more mindset. But like, she just really has that foundation set. So yes, it's about the strategy, but like there was so much more to it than that. Do you see what I mean? And how that's why this industry can get so confusing, because you're hearing the one thing of like, it's strategy, but like, if you look under the surface, it's more than that, right? And so keeping that in mind is so important for your own discernment, or you can get down these really long rabbit holes that are really hard to climb up out of, where you're just so focused on the one thing that you're not using the rest of the pieces of the puzzle to actually make it work, right? Michelle said, I love season 2 of Sam. She was so sold on herself. Exactly. Like that was, look, I had nothing to do with that. Do you know what I mean? Like Sam was just rock solid on that, but that so drastically contributes to her success. Like even to this day, like I can just see how much her mindset impacts her in such a tremendous way, because it is so locked in, right? But it's not like the thing that she's ever going to make a big deal, because it's like really natural to her. Like it wouldn't even occur to her to be like, oh, this happened because of my mindset, you know? Like, and I think that's what's so helpful. It's not like she's lying. It's just not how she thinks about it, but it doesn't mean it's not there, right? Hi, Lynn. Thanks for being here. Julianne says strategy and planning is my natural go-to, right? And so that's something we're going to talk about too, is we all usually have like this natural go-to, and then we try to overwork that thing, right? Yeah, she was so rock solid. It was admirable. I so agree, Julia. I'm like just love listening to her. Lindsay said, I always say I need to channel my inner Sam. Oh, I love that, Lindsay. I'm gonna tell her you said that. She'll love that. But like, so what Julianne was saying is like, we usually have one thing that we're like most naturally inclined to do. And so we overdo that thing. So like a lot of my clients will come to me and they're like so naturally inclined towards strategy and planning, like you're saying, Julianne, and then they come to me wanting more strategy, right? And it's like, you can't out strategy everything, right? And quite honestly, the opposite. Like sometimes I'll have clients who are like super mindset focused, and they come to me just wanting more mindset. And I kind of have to be like, listen, mindset is very important, but if we don't have some of these strategies in your business, we're just making things so much harder. Like, let's do that. So usually it's like whatever thing we're like most wanting to lean on, we so badly want that to be the fix because it's more comfortable for us. But usually it's something else, right? And that's why all of those three work together. And usually the one we're strongest at is not the one that needs the most work. Like, so most of my clients usually like there's one that they're really strong at. And what we end up doing in our work is mostly the other two. You know, it varies. Obviously, we talk about all of it, but I'm saying in terms of like heavy lifting, right? Like, yeah, we don't always keep working the same thing. We work each piece of the puzzle and it all comes together. And again, if you look at almost everyone that you look up to in business, I would imagine you can just tell they have a pretty solid mindset by how they're holding themselves, how they're showing up, how they're selling, all of that. They definitely have a strategy behind it, and they're definitely executing consistently. Like, it would be such a challenge to find somebody that wasn't. And even if like, I've had someone say to me like, oh, well, I know someone that like barely ever shows up online and then like always sells out when she does. And I'm like, cool. I bet you that person builds really fantastic relationships offline too. And I bet that contributes to like her selling out. I have a client like that. She's kind of hit or miss sometimes with online, but she is so fucking good at building those relationships and staying locked into that, even when she's kind of like not on her own stuff, and it works. But like, she wouldn't even say that was a strategy, right? She would be like, I just have a really amazing mindset. And she does, but she's still doing the strategy of building those relationships. It's more natural to her. So she wouldn't think of it in that way, but she's definitely rounding out the puzzle. Does that make sense? Kind of like Sam, like she wouldn't think about it like mindset, but it's for sure there, right? Patricia says, if you are stuck on execution, is it more mindset or strategy? Honestly, 6 and 1/2 dozen the other. It depends. Like, I think that sometimes we get really stuck on execution because we just don't feel clear on what we're supposed to be executing, i.e. strategy, or sometimes we have a super clear strategy that we're not executing and then it's mindset. So what I would say is, like, if you feel really, really clear on what you should be doing and you're just not doing it, it's probably mindset. If you feel really uncertain every day what you should be doing, it's probably strategy. Like, that's kind of how I would look at it as a starting point. Michelle says, I need like an MSC quiz to know where I am solid and where I have room to grow. I have one of those, Michelle. I can't tell if you're teasing me or if you really want one of those, but I genuinely have one of those. It's called the missing piece quiz. Yeah, Julianne says I have one on my website. Yeah, it's called the missing piece quiz. It's like the first thing on the banner on the website, I think. If it's not, I will find it and send it to you, but it will basically walk you through questions and tell you like which one of those needs your attention right now. So it's also cool. You were being serious. Okay. Also, guys, I just have to say this. This is such an example of why you have to talk about your shit all the time, because Michelle, right, knows me very well. Michelle has worked with me in some capacity. Michelle comes to my live streams all the time. Like, she is like my girl and literally didn't even know that. So like, I feel like I just have to take that moment to be like, this is how we like get in those situations where we can be like, well, if somebody wanted it, they would have already taken it. Or if somebody, you know, like wanted to buy, they would. No, you have to talk about your shit constantly or people miss it. So anyway, thank you, Michelle. Patricia said it's mindset. LOL. Yep. Yeah, it makes sense. Surpa said strategy for me. I've been so this and it's worked, but it's nothing scalable in all meanings of the word. Yeah. So that's really good. Like, and that's the magic. Like, you know, when you know what that thing is. Mine is mindset really only because my brain loves to make me wrong. Yeah, totally. Like, that's such a normal thing. Oh, thank you for linking it, Diana. You're so my girl, of course, right? But like, even your people that are like that connected to you can totally miss that. So just a little nugget there. But you see how like it's one of those things where like then once you know, you become so empowered when it feels like I just keep reworking my strategy over and over and over again and I'm not seeing the results I want. It can be so frustrating. Or like, I took this course and they said mindset was the only thing that mattered. And so I keep working my mindset over and over and over again, and I'm not getting anywhere. And I'm so frustrated. Like, again, the course could be great, but the downfall is in thinking that none of this other stuff matters, because I guarantee you the reason you bought that course was because of mindset, strategy, and execution at play together in that person's business, right? And so the more we can start seeing that, the more we can go, okay, this makes sense. I can get mindset support here, but it doesn't mean I drop the ball on this other stuff. This person can be telling me that mindset was the only thing that made a difference for them, but they're so naturally strategy inclined that, you know, they didn't even have to work at that. So the more perspective you have on that, the more empowered you can actually get in your business, because there is not one secret. There is like a combination that makes it all run, right? Stephanie says, what's interesting in social media, people can show up with confidence, but still not have the right mindset. Yeah, totally. 100%. But like, I think that 9 times out of 10, you know, if there's, you know, someone we're looking up to, there's 3 of those at play. It doesn't mean that they don't have opportunities. Like, I still have opportunities in different areas of that, right? But all of them have a place in my business. I think where it gets so tough is when one of them just like falls by the wayside, where we're like over strategizing or over mindsetting or even over executing. Like, you can work until you're blue in the face, but if you don't have a great mindset or a strategy behind that, you're just working to work, right? Services, we aren't just one dimensional, and it's never just one thing, which is good to affirm, as it's a fine balance. Shift in one and other things need a tweak. It's a constant balance. It seems 100%. Like, throughout the course of the 6 years I've been in business, there have been different points where each of those needed my attention in a different way. And there are also points where Some of those are getting my team's attention. So I look at mindset, strategy, and execution personally, but I also look at it as it relates to our business as a whole. So like, I might have more of a mindset focus in our business because that's more my job, where my team might have more of an execution focus in our business, where that's more their job. So that's an interesting thing to think about too, is like, there's what's happening for you MSC wise, but there's also like what's happening in your business MSC wise. And so that's why I always talk about how a lot of my clients, once they're much further along in business, we're focusing primarily on mindset. But again, because the strategy is already set and because we have a team doing most of the execution, it doesn't mean those things aren't important, and it doesn't mean they're not happening. So yes, it's so true that with that client, we're working primarily on that, and their business for sure still has those other components working, right? So that's really an important thing there too. Michelle says that totally makes sense that they go through phases. Right now I'm in mindset since I have the strategy and execution down for calling in new clients. But once I were to fill my practice, I would need strategy and then execution to set up my next steps. You are exactly it, right? Where it's like, based on your growth even, sometimes that will happen where it's like, oh, I grew way out of the strategy I currently have. I have to go back to that. And that's really good to see, is like, there are different points in time and there's not usually one focus. Now, there usually is one we gravitate toward. So that's sometimes where we have to have a coach that can help us see, is that really the thing, or is that just the comfortable thing? But yeah, they'll always cycle. Hiking near waterfalls at full volume. Oh my gosh, that's amazing, Diane. Well, don't do it right now, but maybe share a picture with us later, because that sounds fantastic to be hiking near waterfalls. Hey, Alessia, thank you for being here. So, right, context there of like, yes, it's probably going to change for you, but also there's probably going to be one you always kind of find yourself, like wanting to gravitate toward, and having the discernment to be like, is that really the one, is important. Hi, Shari. She says, I'm here for a little while between appointments, but excited to catch you live and not get the time wrong with all the time zone movement. Shari, I'm moving them in October to 1 p.m. Eastern. Maybe that will be better for you. I'm not sure. You let me know, but thank you for being here. Alessia says, I definitely gravitate towards strategy naturally, and I need to remind myself about executing it and checking with my mindset. I see that the most, honestly. Yeah, I would say that for sure. I feel like most of my clients that are that like high performer, high achiever gravitate the most towards strategy. And what I see keeps us the most stuck with that is we spend so much time reworking the strategy that we never get to the other things, right? So I think that that's super normal. But if that's a cycle you find yourself in, where you're like, it's like September and I've already reworked my strategy 5 times this year, like that's where it's like a red flag, and where like strategy can, become the detriment. Yeah. So I think that that's like the most normal though. Michelle says, say the time change one more time. I get excited every time I hear you say it, not being sarcastic. No, it is. Well, you should get excited. It is literally because of you. So I'm actually really excited about it too, though. Like I was thinking about that today and I was like, that would be great to do at 1 p.m. today. Like would have rocked that. Yeah. So I saw that just now. I think it'll be nice to roll into Mondays and they won't conflict with my lives at 4 Eastern. Oh my God, amazing. That's so perfect. Yes. Or blaming the strategy can make you suck. Julianne, that's such a good way to say it too, right? Like, and here's where the interplay is too, is once you decide on the strategy, guess what? You have to execute that shit, and then you have to give it enough time to play out. And so in the time where it's playing out, all you have to work on is mindset, right? So a question I'm asking my clients a lot is like, what's your lever to pull right now? Because what we can do sometimes is like be pulling the wrong lever, and that's when our machine is not well oiled, right? And so if we know like, well, my strategy is set and I'm showing up every day, my lever to pull is mindset, then it feels really intentional and it feels like we're doing something really important when we think about it like that, right? So like I have a client going through a really big launch right now. I want to read these before I lose it. But Michelle said drinking wine and eating chocolate, and then it disappeared. Yes, sorry, I did, but I can totally share it again. Yes, mindset is so needed while waiting for the strategy to work. Exactly that. So Shari, basically Michelle was like, why do you and Julia do your lives at the same time? Can you change this? What the heck? And I mean, I just like was like, oh, ha, 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 I've like done this forever. I don't know. And like Julia and I both kind of just like laughed about it. But then I was like, wait, I don't even like doing it at 5 p.m. that much. But I had been doing it at 5 p.m. for like ever. But like, it's the time that works least best for most people because like dinner, kids, even time zones, like my European people can never come, et cetera. And so it was just like this so funny thing where it like literally never fucking occurred to me that I could just change the time until Michelle said that. And then I was like, I could just change the time. And here we are. So that is just like a funny thing that can happen in your business where it's so good. I'm so about having the same things set up and reworking them, but remembering that you can change them is also really important. So that is why we are changing to one. Michelle says, I'm waiting on several things in my life to play out at the moment, trying to celebrate all the little things in between. In the meantime. Oh yeah. And Michelle's lesson learned was ask and you shall receive. See, that's it too. You just say, hey, why are you doing this at this time? And I'm like, I don't have to be. Win-win for everybody. But what I was saying before is I have a client going through a really big launch right now. We've had this strategy set for a long time, right? We've also launched this thing multiple times. So not only is the strategy set, it's fucking rock solid and locked in, and she has a pretty big team. So like, yes, she has parts she has to execute, but she has a lot of executional support. And so we were talking this morning and I was basically saying to her, like, you have to be so clear that you have one lever to pull right now. And it is your brain and your mind and your energy. And anytime you think it's not, you need to come to me and we need to straighten that up because your strategy is rock solid set. Your team is like super great at executing. You have one lever. Right. And that immediately felt better to her because she was like, yes, that feels like a good way to think about it because it feels like I can intentionally do something to move it forward, but I'm not going to get in and be all messy in changing up the strategy, like changing up team tasks and like trying to take things on to execute and da-da. I'm going to be so clear on like, this is the work I can do. So when I have an hour extra today, instead of going in and like, you know, getting in everyone's way, executing, I'm going to pull my mindset lever and that's where my results are going to come from. So like knowing which one that is at any given point in your business would be really helpful. Where when it was her first launch, she had a totally different level to pull. It was like 100% strategy. Like that's where our heads had to be. So just seeing like you could even be doing the same task in your business and at a different point in time, there might be a different lever that you're pulling. But taking the time to identify that is where your results lie. Taking the time to know which one it should be is where everything gets easier. Julianne says it's 10 p.m. here, but I'm a night person, so it's never really bothered me. Oh, that's amazing. Thank you for being with us at 10. It's also helped me that I know both you and Julianne felt totally comfortable giving you a hard time about that. That's fair. That's totally fair. It will always take a hard time. So the other thing I want to talk about is why I think it's like more important than ever right now. I want to see what Shari says. Similar but different example. I was so used to staying at my family's house for the last year, and it's so old we couldn't run the dishwasher and laundry washer at the same time. So we just moved into our new place, and I told my husband that I would put the dishwasher on a 4-hour delay to make sure the washer was done. And he was like, we don't have to do that at our house anymore. We can run both. And I was like, oh yeah, never even occurred to me that the rule no longer applies. It's so wild how our brains just get in that rhythm, right? That's such a good example. But yeah, that was totally it for me, where I was just like, this is what we did. We do it at 5. And I was like, or 1, that would be great, right? Jessica says, in that client example, what does that mindset work look like? I mean, I think it really depends on what mindset stuff you have going on and what like that person has. So I think that's where coaching can get really helpful to show you like, okay, like, so we know it's mindset, but like, let's drill down into what that is. Like, you know, for some of my clients, it might be like, you know, getting really locked in on a number. For some of them, it might be like really detaching from a number. For some, it might be like feeling really, really, really confident in their ability to deliver. For some, it might be having just like a lot more fun and play during their launch. So I do think those vary a little bit, but that's where we can like drill down more deeply. It's like, okay, so I know it's mindset. What is my mindset work? I know it's strategy. What is my particular business's strategy work? Like that's where we can get into the nitty gritty. So like, I hope that makes sense, but you almost have to be like, okay, it's mindset. Now, what does that look like for me? Right. So like, I'm a control freak. So reliably, like my mindset work usually looks like detachment, letting go of control, like focusing on the outcome, not the process, things like that. So like, if it was my launch, that's probably what I would be doubled down on, kind of thing. Good. I'm glad that helped. Okay. So here's why I think now is such an important time to focus on this is for two reasons. One is I feel like there's more noise than ever telling you what that one magic secret is to fix, telling you what that thing is you absolutely have to do. And I think it is just throwing people so much like left and right because they're hearing that over and over again, that there's like one thing and it's this thing on this day and this thing on this day and this thing on this day. And so I think like having this full perspective helps you like run that through a lens and practice discernment. Like, oh, that might be a really good strategy point. Do I need that right now? Oh, that's a really good mindset tip. Is my lever mindset right now? Oh, that would be an amazing course. Do I need more support executing? Like it helps you practice that discernment instead of being like, oh my God, I bet I have an execution problem. Actually, fuck, that mindset thing's probably my problem too. Oh my God, actually and that's how we get so spun out, right? But if you can really have the, context to be able to see like, okay, all of these work together, right? I'm personally working this one right now. So I'm personally only going to like take a course or consume things or whatever around this particular thing because anything else is just pulling me away from what's already working. So like if my strategy was already working really well, for me to go like do another thing on strategy because someone is saying like I should be better at Instagram stories, and that's not a huge part of my strategy. But what I really need is mindset. And now I'm distracting myself with like an Instagram stories training. This is when I get so confused and when I do so much more work and don't see the results, right? Yeah, detachment for you too, Julianne, same, always. Michelle said, I hit a button accidentally and it pulled up both yours and Julia's lives simultaneously and it was trippy. I think the struggle that I struggle with most with strategy is articulating it, but I know I have it. Yes, totally. Oh, fuck, I should probably do that too. Welcome to the inside of my brain. Now I'm like, I have all this free time. Should I be doing something? Well, Michelle, what comes up for me there is like, if you can even like write down what you're doing and see that as strategy, and then when you have extra time, be like, which one of these things could I double down on? That's when it gets a little bit easier. So like, say like your strategy is like, I connect with other people, I post daily, I show up on stories, I do this. And then you're like, I have an hour. You almost pick from that. You're like, okay, I could go do more connections. Okay, like let me add some stories in today. Okay, and it's like you stay within that, like, here's what I'm doing bucket, and you go like deep within that instead of going wide and trying a bunch of new things. So I don't know if that helps, but like that's how I would think about it with that, which is like, if I know what I'm doing, I can always go deeper on one of those things, but I stay pretty locked in on those things as opposed to other things. And Diane says, this is so helpful. I've spun out so many times. I get it. It's so easy to do. Yeah, Shari says this is why she's committing to a new hobby this year, healthy distraction for the win, hands down. Hands down. So important. It does not always have to be about business because it's so easy to like be like, oh, well then, and I'll do this thing and I'll do this thing. Yes, agree. You're like, I will like do something that has nothing to do with business. I feel like mindset was the thing I needed the most permission around to do as a business building activity. I actually enjoy mindset and personal development, but it doesn't line up with the productivity hustle of society. Yes, totally. It's so true. Srupa said, wouldn't be doing execution rather than strategy. I think, Srupa, I think you're asking about Michelle's question. And basically what I would say there is like, since her strategy is set, when she has more time, we don't want her reworking the strategy. We want her to be like, how can I work the strategy I already have? But let me know if I misunderstood your question. Yeah, what you said about going deeper totally makes sense. What I've been doing most recently is just trusting that I'm doing enough and going to watch Grey's Anatomy reruns, which is also fair. Could totally be that. But I think it's like, if you're feeling like I really want to do something else versus like I really do feel complete, that's the thing you can think about. Hello, little Sabs. I love your little angel face. Thank you for being here. Okay, good. I'm glad that resonated. So again, that's why it's most important, because if you do not know what your thing is, you will do all the things and you will feel like you are working so freaking hard and not getting the results. And it's almost always because like you're trying to pull every one of those levers at once instead of knowing what the actual thing is. And then the second reason is because I really feel like, and like, I know this can sound discouraging, but I promise I'll pick it back up. I feel like in some ways it's never been harder to grow online, right? And I really don't think that has to be a bad thing, but I do think like, you know, it is more saturated. There are more algorithm challenges. Like, it's just true that it has become, hi mom, hi Sabs. Michelle says, I really want to do something versus I feel complete filter, because sometimes I like to do fun stuff, but I don't want to go fuck around with my website. Exactly. So if you're like, I really want to do something and that feels enlivening, can it be one of these things, right? Support this. I feel you. The pivoting for me from launch consulting to coaching has resulted in a lot more time and energy and spaciousness. So I really have to check my enoughness and just allow things to be easier in transition. It really works for me. I love that. Oh yeah, Shari, what's your hobby? We want to know. But anyway, so, you know, again, it's like maybe a more challenging time to grow, but that isn't a case not to grow. That's a case to go, what is the fastest path to growth, or what is the most comfortable, sustainable is maybe how I would say that path to growth. And it really is being willing to focus on all these. So I know that I'm going to have to work my strategy for at least 90 days, right? So I have to have my execution locked in, and I have to have the mindset there to be able to sustain that, or say it even takes longer than 90 days. Like, what if I had to execute for 6 months to see this new strategy fully work and fully play out? My execution would have to be so locked in, and my mindset would have to be so rock solid to be able to move through that, right? And so if I'm only focused on one piece of that puzzle or on one piece of that pie, it's exponentially slowing down my growth, right? And so the way to ensure that you will be able to stay in it is to work all three of these, is to really see how one without the other is ultimately slowing you down, right? What mindset tips do you have around cultivating patience? I might be the wrong person to ask for that, Michelle, but I will try very hard to answer your question. Patricia said I have to go pick up my kiddos. This was so good. Awesome. Yes, exactly, Julianne. It's not to grow. It's being able to sustain. Exactly. I'm teasing you a little bit, Michelle, because I'm like not a naturally patient person at all. That is like not one of my strong traits or skill sets whatsoever. But for me, it's always detachment. Like, the more detached I am, the more patience I have. So like, that's what I notice. Like, if I can like really want an outcome, but feel so like connected to that outcome that I can detach from the timeline, that's when I feel that magic. That's when I don't feel that like constant niggle of impatience. But that's what it takes for me, is feeling really locked in to an outcome and being so present to that like the timeline feels less important to me. I actually will share this soon, but just hit a really big goal in our business that I'm excited to share with you guys. And it was definitely a long time coming, but I feel like I have been locked into that outcome for a really long time before it showed up. So I personally had a lot of patience around it. And I know that's the only reason why. because I was kind of already like feeling it and living it and feeling really connected to it, and like was able to, yeah, just like detach from the timeline more. So that's what does it for me. Again, it's not like I'm not always the best at that, but like that's for sure where I always experience the best results. My impatience is the thing I always have to work through. Yeah, same. Celebrating you for hitting that goal and also for having patience. Thank you, Michelle. It definitely was very much a work in progress, but it did help a lot. So anyway, the 2 points there are, it's noisy as fuck and it's challenging. And so if I get really swept up in these ideas, and especially if I get swept up in the idea that like, because it's maybe more challenging to grow online, that I just have to pick that one strategy that makes it work no matter what, or because it's more challenging, I just have to like work my mindset, like, you know, and not worry about anything else. Like that's where the trap is, right? Or like someone is telling me that like they worked their mindset and then this happened. Yes, that's probably true. And all of these other things went into it. So again, like the context is everything. And seeing these three where like you might be getting just one of them your big attention, but seeing all of them together constantly and having that be the filter through which you discern content, discern if you want to purchase something, discern what your next step is the most useful thing you can be focused on right now. Shari says, is another perspective I've also found separating out things not being perfect and it being fine has been so helpful to staying in it. So kind of flipping what you said about having a rock solid mindset and locked in strategy. I'll tell myself that I can get my results with imperfect execution, even if my mindset wobbles, even if my strategy is basic, etc. The reverse psychology has been really helpful for the brain. Well, I think that's so true. Like when you're working all three, none of them have to be perfect. Right? So like a locked in strategy doesn't mean a perfect strategy, which by the way, there's none, right? I was talking to one of my clients about this recently. We were talking about an offer she has coming up. She, you know, was kind of like pro-conning all of it. And I was trying to say to her, like, no offer is ever without holes. Like I could poke a million holes in my business and my offering, but doesn't matter. It works. And so I think that's so true. Like the point isn't get mindset, strategy, and execution perfect. The point is, if you have all of them together, they all hold each other up. So they don't have to be perfect, right? And I think that's exactly it. But when you're like, the only thing is strategy, and so I have to nail it and make it the most perfect thing ever, and it can't have one single hole in it, there can't be any question around it, it's like, then you're fucked, right? That like, because that strategy doesn't exist. Like, if someone knows a strategy that we couldn't poke a hole in, by all means tell me, but I don't think it's out there, right? So that's the point, is we have to be able to really see that like, yes, none of this has to be perfect, but the three of them have to be at play, right? I think it's very much like, you know, almost like, oh my God, why can't I think of it? What is it? Body, mind, spirit. Okay, good. It's like, none of those have to be perfect, but if you're only focused on your body and not on your mind and spirit at all, there are going to be consequences to that. But even if you're focused on, or if you have like a decent, you know, amount of like goodness going in each of them, like things will feel better. I think that's like really important way to think about it. So sometimes like I think about mindset, strategy, and execution like body, mind, and spirit in a way where it's like, all three of those together are what makes me feel best, but at any given time, one might need my attention over the other, but the point is that they all work together, right? Love when words just disappear. Shari says, I have a deep question before I hop off, because this has been coming up a lot over the past year, especially around the difference between mindset and nervous system, physical body stuff. Can you define how you think about mindset? Sure. I really think, oh, I just answered it. No, I totally get what you're saying. I think that the way I personally work it is that with a lot of my clients, I talk about like the nervous system and energy management with mindset. To me, those feel similar in my work. I would say like on a broader scale definition, like I think mindset and somatic is definitely very different. But yeah, like when I think about it, I kind of lump them fall into that category, because I think to be able to do great mindset work, we have to be able to regulate our nervous system. Like it's almost impossible to really access those things in your brain if you can't calm yourself enough to get there. So I feel like one goes into the other. Like one example that I always use that just reminds me of it is like, if I was like being chased by a lion, like I couldn't access my mindset enough to be like, you're safe and all is well. And like my nervous system would be like in such reactivity. I literally couldn't access that. And so that's kind of how I think about it, where it's like, sometimes we have to do that work to even be able to access the mindset stuff so that like, so we can get there. But like, first we might need to do some of the like regulation work to do that. Like, I don't think that that's necessarily how everyone lumps them together. Again, I don't know that it's even like the universally most accurate way to say that. But for me, that's how I work and how I think about it. Julianne says, I think of mindset as noticing thoughts and being able to reframe or work through them. Yeah, exactly. And sometimes to be able to access, notice, reframe, work through thoughts, we have to calm our body first, right? So to me, in my work, they feel connected, where it's like, if we're regulated, we can access that. If we're not, we might need to do that first to access that point. But I also think it's just really important to say this. You know, some of this is in the realm of coaching and some of this is certainly in the realm of therapy. Like I'm still a very diehard fan of like, some of this needs to be done in therapy depending on where it's at. You guys know that I'm a former therapist and just really believe that. So like, there's certainly a line there for me too. Like, I don't think of myself as like a trauma practitioner. Like I know about those things, but that's certainly not work I'm doing in coaching either, because I just feel like there's a different container for that. So that feels important for me to say too. Like, I think there's like regulating in one way. And then I think there's also like deeper stuff that sometimes coaching just isn't, you know, there to support. I think some people would disagree with that, but that's how I operate in my business. Like I'm always helpful to make a line there with clients too, if they need that additional support. Shari says, that's what I was thinking you did as well based on your work. I think it's so important, especially for women. Hormonal birth control has been a huge thing popping up. I've noticed like getting on or going off that's come up, and also with anxiety. So I found sometimes separating those has been helpful instead of trying to mindset out of some other stuff. Exactly. Sometimes you're not, like, you have to handle your body so you can access the mind. So I just fully agree with that, Shari. Michelle took the quiz and it told me I was missing strategy. I don't think that's entirely true right now, but it's also the least fun part of the three things for me. So Michelle, it totally could be that. I mean, obviously, like the fundamental challenge of the quiz is that you're the one answering. You know, I like always think that's funny in a sense, where it's almost like with like personality quizzes too. It's like, but you're the one answering it. So there's always some skew to that. But it totally could be true. Love what you shared. Gotta run. Thank you. Grateful for you and can't wait to hear your milestone. Thank you, Shari. Cool. Keep us posted too. Such a good question. I'm grateful for my 10 years in higher ed, where I had to toe this line in my work and being able to translate it over to the coaching world, because it's a slippery slope. I agree. Yeah. Where I needed and none of the above. Yeah. Yeah. And I think, you know, again, like there's just a line there with like what we can, I think, in integrity help with. Like, I'm really aware of the fact that I'm not a licensed or practicing therapist anymore. So, well, never. I mean, I never finished my licensure. I think I've been really open about that, but was practicing for some time and I'm not anymore. So like that feels like a really clear distinction, which is why I use the term mindset in the puzzle more, because I'm like assuming that there's like a point of regulation there from which we can work on mindset. But again, sometimes we need a little more than that. And I think sometimes coaching can provide that up to a point, right? Strategy is definitely the part that I'm always least clear on, though. So I don't think it's wrong. I love mindset most, and I'm an excellent executor. So I love a good to-do list. Yeah. So that really might be it then for you, Michelle. Jessica says, took the quiz. It says missing execution, which is what I was thinking. Purchase the bundle and looking forward to working through it. Oh, amazing. Jessica, thank you. Oh, that's so awesome. I so appreciate that. I'm so glad it was what you were thinking too. All right, cool. So how you kind of put these together is ultimately going to be where your power comes from in business. And that's what I want the takeaway to be today, is that having this lens to filter content, filter purchases, filter next steps, have discernment around what you're consuming. So if someone's going, mindset is like the only thing that mattered to me, and you're like, well, you also have like really locked in launch, and you post every day and you show up really consistently and kind of never miss a day and whatever. So I'm like, yeah, there's probably like both there too. Cool. Like, which one do I need? That's when you return all your power to yourself in an industry that's like very noisy and often kind of trying to take it away from you by saying, here's what's wrong with you. Let me fix it. This is how you're like, here's the leverage point in my business right now. And that's all I'm doing. So that's what I really wanted you guys to be able to take away today, is that feeling of like, this is how I return to my power. This is how I have a good lens. This is how I keep my filter strong in what continues to be a noisy space. And this is how I trust myself, because I trust that I'm working on the thing that I know is my opportunity, as opposed to doing this other thing because someone says I should, right? This is how I trust that I'm making progress. This is how I trust that I'm signing up for the things that are right for me, et cetera, et cetera. So this is it. This is like my whole spiel. I could go so deep. Maybe I'll do like a mindset strategy, or like individual, like a mindset live, a strategy live, an execution live. We can go deeper in those a little bit. Obviously the Million Her Bundle goes way deep on those. So someone will win that today. But point being, those are the things. It's more important than ever. And that's how to work it. So I hope that helps. Let me see what Michelle said. I tend to be careful how I talk about mindset in the infertility space, because there is a level of trauma happening there. Totally. And I also have seen amazing results with my clients who focus on shifting into a more positive headspace while honoring the full spectrum of their emotions. So true. I think you do such a beautiful job of towing that line, Michelle. I also realized that I'm really grateful strategy is my thing, because I can easily outsource that in a coaching container. Yes, you can. Coming in towards the end. Hi, Manisha. So I have missed some context, but definitely agree with the line between mindset and then deeper trauma somatic work. Thank you so much, Manisha. I know you are like such an expert at that, so I appreciate that. All right, beautiful guys. So remember, if you comment, you're entered to win the Million Her Bundle. I will announce that tomorrow at some point, and then we'll do one more live this month on the 27th at 5, and then on the 4th we will be starting at 1 p.m. So beautiful. All right, I love you guys. I hope you have a beautiful week, and I will talk to y'all soon. Bye.